Hi guys, welcome back to the shop. Today I'm going to get back on the Yamaha 250 MX, and we're going to start trying to get the clutch side cover buttoned up. So let me get you overhead here and we'll get started on it. Okay, I went ahead and I tried to locate me a new spring here, and I found one. Just to make sure that everything's as it should be. So we get that on there. Get everything back together. There we go. Use the right tool. Okay, so I've got a new spring in there. Those don't seem to be available from Yamaha anymore, so I had to get one from eBay. All right, let's get our drum keeper in there. We get a little blue Loctite on the screws. I have to move you here a little bit. All right, I got my new parts, and this bracket here and these two arms, those were what I was after. And you know, they're pretty loose anyway, but the ones that I had out of both engines were just really sloppy. These are a better fit now, so I think we'll have better luck with our adjustment. Now, first thing I want to do is I want to get this in there, and then I want to tell you or show you some stuff that you really can't see that well. Let me get a little grease on this thing again and on this piece. And that, of course, just goes in here, and you kind of got to pull these apart to fit them into the drum, shift drum, like that. That should be just about what we want. And then, of course, we've got a snap ring that goes on top of it. You know, I'm going to try a different deal here. Those things are just really, I don't know where it's going to go. I don't think I'm going to be able to get that in there. Nope. All right. Just hope that it don't fly. You guys are on your own on these. There. All right. Okay, next thing we need to do is we need to get our spring onto the shifter. And those sometimes can be kind of difficult too, but I'll show you what I do. I get this, the leg that is the lowest down against the piece here, and then I just take a screwdriver and then twist it just like that, and that should be in there, and just push it up. So that's what you want. Now get back over here, and we're gonna bring the spring down over the eccentric. This is your adjustment, or one of the adjustments. The other one is right here. Both of them are an eccentric of types, and it's also, this slot has got to go in here. So the first thing you want to do is get your shifter over there where I've got it on there so I could do some preliminary adjustments for the shifter. Okay, we've got it up here, and you just push it over this. It usually goes on pretty easy. Then make sure that this piece fits, and there you go. Now, I've already got my adjustment pretty well taken care of here. Let me get this thing set up. Okay, I'm not sure. Yeah, I know you're not going to be able to see very much of this. But I just want to point out a couple things. You've got these little levers here. You've got what they call, I think it's lever 3 and lever 4. Let me get the exact terminology here. Yeah, change lever 3, change lever 4. Change lever 4 is this one closest to you here, and it's the straightest one. You know, I think I'll take this back off just so I can kind of show you this piece. Okay. You see this, the darker lever here? That is change lever 4, and it's the straightest one. See, here's the end of it here, and then over here. And this other one, change lever 3, this is one end of it here and the other end over here. So it's kind of like a L shape, where change lever 4, the one closest to you, the dark one, is straighter. And that is the one that that we're going to use here in a little bit to measure or to try to get our gap even here and here. But the first thing we want to do is, you're trying to get, there's a pin right here in the shift drum. You've got 5 pins. This thing is going to encompass 2 of them, and one of them is going to be in the middle. Okay, so the one in the middle doesn't matter. The one up here and the one down here does matter. And I'm going to show you what we want. I just drew a picture. Now this isn't a great picture, but this is showing the shift drum with the 5 pins. And this is showing this lever back here. Don't pay any attention to this one. It's just holding them. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to get the gap even here. If you've watched any of my AT1, CT1 shift adjustments, it's the same thing. It's just a different way to do it. But you want this gap between the pin and the heel of the lever, and the pin here and the heel of this lever, to be approximately equal. That's what you're doing. Now let me get this piece back on. And again, we're just going to push it down over the eccentric. Okay, and then make sure that this follower fits in there. Oops, I messed that up. Forgot to bring my shifter up where it needs to be. You can always change the shifter, but I just kind of want to get it close. There. All right. So I've got it pretty close. Okay. Now, to get that to happen, to get this, to adjust this, you're going to adjust this eccentric right here. And you're going to do it in the position it's in right now. You can't see it, but you can look underneath it with a flashlight, and you can look over on top of it with a flashlight. Now you'll need to be in gear, and this is kind of what we do. I don't think that's, there we go. All right. Now, you might be able to see this one. The pawl right here. You see the pin right here, and it's approximately, oh, I don't know, maybe 1/8 of an inch from the pin to the heel of the lever. And that's what we have at the bottom also. It's harder to see, but you can see it. And you're going to make this adjustment with it right here. Now there's some slop in that, and there's going to be. You've just got to do the best you can. Now you're going to adjust. You're going to loosen the nut back here, and then adjust this eccentric until you achieve basically the same distance from the pin to the heel of the lever. Pretty much as I'm showing here. Okay? Once you've got that, then you're going to use this one to adjust, to try to get your distance here at this stop and here at this stop approximately the same. And you have to do that while shifting it. Okay, and you're always measuring from change lever 4, the one that's closest to you. In this case, it's the darker one. Now you're going to measure this, or you're not going to measure it. You're going to try to get this the same as it is down here. The lever behind it now has no, you don't need to worry about the lever behind it. Not at this point. You're only measuring between change lever 4 and this stop. Yeah. Oops. I came out of that. That's what was happening. I got to get my keeper on that. That's my issue. Let me do that. All right. Maybe it'll stay a little better. Okay. Now, down here at the bottom, again, it's this lever that's closest to you and this stop right here. So it's right there to right here. And those measurements are approximately the same when they go up here too. You've got to kind of move this. See, there it is. Up here now. And you've got the distance approximately the same right here to right here. So I've got it adjusted. I'm pretty happy with it, so we're going to leave it right there. And see, I've got another C-clip to go on there, or E-clip, whatever you want to call it. But the adjustment's not too bad, but you just have to follow the procedure. All right, there we go. And that's going to be the one that comes when the cover goes on. That holds all this stuff in position. All right. Okay, now we've got to look at some shims here. We've got our Kickstarter assembly, and where it goes into the case back here, we're going to have a shim on there. And that shim should be about 24, yep, by 16, yep, by 1.2, all in millimeters. And we are. Okay, so that one's going to go on the end here where it goes next to the case. Let me get some oil here. And we'll just give that a little shot. And then that's going to pop right down into there. And there's kind of and it's hard to see. There's a cogged piece there on the back. You just got to push it down a little bit. There. Okay. And what you're looking for, and again, it's going to be hard for you to see, is the stop right here is going to fit right down into the, there's a metal piece that goes on top of the aluminum back there to keep it from banging up the aluminum. And there's a little tapered area that's part of that stop. But you just got to push that down a little bit and it pops right in there. And then we've got to get the spring located. I'm sorry, this is just really hard to get in here. So you're going to bring that down here and locate it right there. And then you have another washer, and this one is going to go right here. And it is, the book says 33, I'm at more like 31 on the OD. And 20.2, and it's more like 20.5. And then it's selective, it can be 1 millimeter or 1.2 millimeter. And actually, we're close, we're below 1 millimeter, but that's the one I've got. So that's what's going to go in there. So that one's in. Now, we need to get our idler in. And again, we've got a couple of washers. Let me get to that part here so I don't steer you in the wrong direction. Okay. All right, we've got two of them, and they are, one goes underneath the gear and one goes above the gear, and they are 20 by 16. By 16 by 1. And first one's going to go right there. And then you're going to put your idler in. And then you've got a shim, the same as the other one. And then you've got your snap ring. And snap rings have a rounded side and a flat side. And whoops, I'm going to have to turn my snap ring pliers around. So you want the round edge going next to the shim and the square sharper edge facing out. That's so it'll grip. I think that's the thrust area. That's what they call it. Okay, so that's, just make sure that'll spin now. Now you know it's in the groove. So there you've got that. And the next thing we need to do is talk about the washers here. So let me get squared away on that. All right, now we're going to focus on the clutch shaft here. The first washer that needs to go on there is going to be 34 right there by 25.2. Yep. And it's going to be 2 millimeters right there, 2 millimeters thick. That's going to go right back there, first thing on. Then you've got your plate, and they call this, it's thrust plate. And what they call it is thrust plate 2. And this one is going to be 50. Yep. By 30, no, 25. Yep. By 2. And it is. So that one's going to go down there. Whoops. I think I'm going to have to take this back off to get that under there. Let me do that real quick. Okay, kind of got out of sequence here on my, this goes on last then, after you get the washers in place. Okay, we've got both washers on here. Now we're going to install the spacer, and you just want to look, make sure you're not getting a step or something worn into it. This one here looks to be okay. So we're going to slide that down on there. And then you've got what they call the bearing. And the bearing is 2 pieces. If you was to order this, this is what you'd get. You get the 2 pieces. And a lot of people don't, they look at the IPB and see way too many parts there, and this is one part, constitutes the bearing. This is like the race. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is lube it up good. And we'll put a little back here on the washer. And then you install your bearing. And this is basically the race. Let me just show you that in the book. Here's the first washer we put on, and then the big one. And then 14 is, they call it the bearing. Okay, so that's actually both of those pieces, and then our spacer. Now we've got another, once we get the clutch hub on, or the clutch, what do they call that? The boss, maybe? Clutch assembly. Okay, once this goes on, then we've got another washer here, just like the one we had back here. It's got the same number. So it's going to be exactly the same size. So we've got everything on there, and that's, now we've got to get our idler gear on. I've still got the washer behind it. I don't do as many of these as I do the AT1, CT1. So I consequently don't have it down as pat. Okay. Okay, next thing we need is the gear. And that is going to get a little lube here. And that's going with the cogs up. And those are going to fit into the idler gear. And just kind of remember how you've got this oriented. So when you put the clutch assembly on, then everything is in the proper position, because you've got these here. The square ones are the ones that you're going to go into. And those, we'll get a little oil in here on the bushing. And we've got everything fastened down here. So this piece, with the square cog up. Yeah. It's not wanting to pop down there. What's the deal? I've got all that stuff that's I'm going to have to redo, because it's, so remember that if that spacer pops up on you, you've got to recenter that bearing. And I'm actually thinking I should be putting this one, I don't know, we'll see. There it goes, dropped right in. And that's where your other big washer goes, and it'll be the same. It'll be, what was it, 50? Yes, 50 by 25 by 2. And give this one a little oil also, both sides. And that goes down. and then your plate goes on, or your hub goes on. And that one gets a Belleville washer. It's concave on one side, convex on the other. That one's going to go down. And I just put a little oil on the. That's your lock. If I put it this way, because when that compresses, then it's going to hold everything down and keep it from backing off. That's the idea, anyway. Now let me make sure that I can get this piece in. And one thing that you want to make sure of, I've got a new O-ring. That's going to be the first piece that goes in there. If you don't put that in, you're probably going to suck transmission fluid or transmission oil. And that is going to go here on the tapered side, so that seal is actually going to fit in there like this. So in that goes. I've got a feeling I'm going to have to put that clutch on last. Yep, I believe so. Kind of wondered about that. All right, so let me get this back off. Okay, let's put a little oil on our O-ring and slide that down. And then we want to make sure that we get some oil on our seal. Make sure you got it on the lip back there in the back. And then put a little oil on your gear here where it's going to fit into the seal. And there we go. Now, I'm going to reverse everything here. Okay, we're kind of back where we were here. So I've got the crankshaft gear in. Like I say, I don't do as many of these, and it's been years since I've done any. Again, we go back with our washer here. And then our clutch hub. All right. Where'd my Belleville washer go? Okay, again, and I don't know whether I said this before or not, but the convex portion of the concave portion goes down. Otherwise the bump is up and against the nut. Okay, and now we're going to do the same thing over here on the crankshaft. We've got another Belleville washer. It's going to go with the bump up against the nut. And we're going to go ahead and try to get these tightened up. Let me get some equipment. Okay, now we're going to tighten the clutch hub down, and I've got a holder here. And I'm going to torque this to 230 to 250 inch-pounds. Okay, there we go. And on this one, we're going to do the same. And I'm going to use my penny trick, if I can find one here. So we're going to turn it this way, so the penny is going to have to go underneath here. And we're just going to stick it right there. And we're going to do the same thing. .230 to 250 inch-pounds. And then just back that up and the penny falls out. So we should be good right there as far as that goes. Okay, something to take note of here is we've got this one here, I think you can tell, this one right here is thicker than the rest of these. That's going to be your starting plate. And let's see here. Yep, it's going to go first. And then you've got this without the teeth. This is your spacer. Now if you've got a 360, you're not going to have that. Or if you want the heavier clutch, you're not going to have it either. But I'm going to put it back in the way this one come apart. And one note too is I do not have the rubber cushions. Neither bike that I tore apart had them, and they're not on, Yamaha doesn't have them anymore, so we're going to use them without them. I've done this with other, even the 125s, 175s. It will work just fine without it. Okay, then the first thing we need to do after we get our plate in is we go ahead and put our first steel plate. Then it's going to be every other one, and I've had my fiber ones soaking here. I've got some new and some old here, but all of them are in good condition. So I'll go ahead and get these stacked on. Okay, now we'll just put a little oil on our shaft, and we can go ahead and stick that in, and it'll push into the seal on the other side right there. And then we've got the little ball. And again, I just put a little oil on the ball and drop it in right behind it. And then we've got the clutch actuator. Again, a little oil isn't going to hurt it. And it goes right in there. And we've got oil all the way around. I'm just leaving my little pan under here to drip for a while. And we can go ahead and get our cover on. Put a little oil on the outside there. Okay. And I actually ordered new springs for this, and I thought these were they were a little worn, so I ordered new ones. And when I got the new ones in, let me show you. The new ones are exactly the same height as the old ones. So I'm just going to use the old ones, and I will eventually need the new ones somewhere. But I just can't see putting them in there right now because they're exactly the same length. And they give you a specification in there. And like I say, that well, let me get it here for you. Hang on. Okay. They're saying the free length should be 36.4 millimeters. And if the free length of the spring is 1 millimeter or more shorter than the standard free length, replace it. 36.4. So 35.4 would be our replacement. But these are 34.25 to start with, and so are the new ones. Kind of hard to measure it here, but so it's really the same. So I just see no reason to replace them. So we're just going to go with it. There's just no difference in them. So let me get the screws all started here. And we've got this all on. And we're just giving it a tap. Now these go into aluminum, so you don't want to over tighten them. They're not going to come out. All right. Okay, we've got one more selective washer here, and it's going to go right here. My book tells me that this one is 18, okay, by 12.3. This one's about 12.6, and it's 0.2, and it's just a little bit over. And actually, this one was missing, so I had to turn this one out on the lathe. So there's where it goes right there. And then we've got to make sure that you don't forget to put your dowel pins in. You got one down here and one right back here. And now we're ready for a gasket and the side cover. So I think we're all done in here. On these, I think it's a good idea to put a little oil on these, because usually when you pull them out, they are rusty. And I've actually had to clean those up. So put a little oil on them, and that'll prevent you from having to do that the next time. And you know, I already had these adjustments done when I started showing you this again. So just make sure that you tighten up your nuts, and you've got a lock on the back that you got to bend over. So make sure that that one's in place too. So everything else is good to go here. So let me see if I can find a gasket. Okay, got the gasket on here. And I see I've got a little paint that rubbed off. That's the thing with paint, is if it's, I mean, it's bad enough if you've got it on something, you're probably going to scratch it. But if it's off, I'll guarantee you're going to scratch it. Okay, we're going to put a little oil here in the Kickstarter, and I'm going to put a little bit on the shaft too. And then we're just going to go ahead and see if we can get that to slide down. You've got to get that little stop in there too for the shifter. Okay, so that's down. And we've got the two long screws at the dowel pins. And then the rest of them are the same. I think the short ones are 30 millimeter and the long ones are 40. So we just go ahead and get those down. Okay, I've got my plate in here for the block off for the oil pump, and I've got the cover here. I've still got to give it a shot of paint. I want to kind of clean it up a little bit. So at this point, I'll just stick it back on there and I'll get to it at some point. Oops, I got a long one. Nope, those three are all the same. 30 millimeter also. Okay, and then I didn't show you, but let me move this down. I went ahead and put the little grommet in here, and what I do on these when I delete the oil pump is I'll just fill that full of silicone and also the oil pump cable, or maybe I'll just put a bolt in there. Either one, just something to seal it off so you don't have water laying around in there. So next thing, I think about the only thing left on this side would be the Kickstarter. Let's see where we're at here. Okay, now we need to get our collar in here. So this, we'll put a little oil on it. And I kind of like to get some back in there too. So I think I'm just going to put some on a Q-tip. Yeah, there we go. There we go. Okay, I've got my torque wrench here, and I'm going again to 230 to 250 inch-pounds. And the way I held that was just with a, this is a spanner wrench, and I just slide this up so that it can't, pull out of the gear. So we should be good there. I'll go ahead and get this turned over. And we should be looking here at the key on our crankshaft. All right. Yep, should go. I believe I can put that on first. Now I'm using the 360 ignition. I've got to get a nut. Just put a little drop of oil in that one too. Keeps everything working. Yeah, I'm using the 250 360. This will work on either one, and it's the totally CDI ignition. And we'll just get the little homemade tool there that I use for a spanner. Okay. I just made this and put a couple roll pins in here to go into that's how the factory did it. Yep, this is one of the ones that we redid. Put a new harness on it, everything. There we go. So I'll get that on, fastened on down. Okay, I've got that in. Actually, this setup is for the 73, 74, 250 or 360. So it'll work either way. Actually, they use the same stator on the 125. The only difference is the rotor. You've got to have the small taper for the rotor. But there's a lot of these out there, and they're pretty easy to find. And you know, if you're good at rewiring or whatever, I've done a couple videos on that, then you can do it too. Okay, so we're pretty much at the end of today, and when we get ready to put the top end on, then that'll be another video itself. Okay, there's our finished cases. Like I say, I've got a little painting to do, some RTV, and then we'll get to the top end here in a later video. Okay guys, there you have it. That should finish up the assembly of the lower end for the 72 250 MX engine, and we will eventually get to the top end here. You know, it's all ready to go. We just don't have time to do it all today. So we've already bored it. We've checked the ring gap, all that stuff. So all we got to do is build it up. So hey, thanks for going along on the ride, and we'll see you next video.